Welcome. In this example, we're given the function f of x equals 3 divided by the quantity x plus 5. We're asked to find and simplify the difference quotient. And what we have here, this represents our difference quotient, f of x plus h minus f of x divided all of that by that value of h. So what we want to notice is we are given f of x. We know what this f of x is. What we don't know is what f of x plus h is. So my first step when I'm finding or solving to simplify these difference quotient problems is to figure out what f of x plus h is. In this situation, f of plugging in x plus h instead of x gives me 3 over x plus h plus 5. Again, I'd like you to notice that I used these parentheses to group x and h, but in this situation, I do not need them. So I'm going to go ahead and say x plus h plus 5. They were purely associative. They do not change the meaning of how we're working through this problem. At this point, we're going to go ahead and set up. All right, so we've found f of x plus h. So now we're going to set this up. And what that means is we have 3 over x plus h plus 5, all of that, minus the given function, 3 over x plus 5. All of this is then divided by h. Now we've got to the setup stage. If you get to this step in your work, I know you understand what it means to set up the difference quotient. And again, this is going to be really, really important in your upcoming calculus classes. All right, so once we have this set up, our third step is to simplify. When we look at simplifying, we're dealing with the subtraction of fractions, which means we need a common denominator, and then we'll have some fraction divided by another value. So one thing, remember, division, dividing by h, that is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. Division is multiplying by the reciprocal, or copy, change, flip. So divide by h is the same as multiplying by 1 over h. I like to go ahead and just pull that out in front. So now I have 3 over x plus h plus 5 minus 3 over x plus 5. All right, now I think this is a really helpful way to work at the problem or work through the problem. It kind of takes that messy having to draw that big fraction bar every time. We just put it in front and we're going to multiply through by that value on the end. Now, in order for us to simplify, we need a common denominator. I want to add, or in this specific case, subtract, but remember addition is subtracting. So I want to add or subtract these fractions. So in order to add and subtract fractions, we need a common denominator. And I'm going to multiply this first fraction by 1. 1 is any number over itself, and I'm going to choose that number by the other denominator. So I'm going to say x plus 5 over x plus 5. Then we have minus, I still have my 3 over x plus 5, and I'm going to multiply that also by 1, which is x plus h plus 5 over x plus h plus 5. All right, so I get my common denominator values by looking at the other denominator and putting it over itself to be 1. So now as we simplify, I've still got my 1 over h in the front. 3 times x plus 5, that is 3x plus 15. I'm going to leave my denominator in factored form, x plus h plus 5 times x plus 5. Minus, now this minus is in front of all of that. So I have two options. I can distribute the minus now and turn this to a plus, or I can distribute the 3 and then make sure I subtract all of this second numerator, which is what I'm going to do. So I've got 3x plus 3h plus 15 over x plus 5, x plus h plus 5. So what you want to notice here is that the minus is in front of all of those terms. So these two fractions now have the same denominator. So when I combine the numerators, that minus is going to distribute through. I have 1 minus h, I've got 3x plus 15 minus 3x minus 3h minus 15 all over x plus h plus 5 times x plus 5. 3x minus 3x, those cancel. Positive 15 minus 15, those cancel. And I end up with negative 3h over, I didn't write my 1 over h yet, over x plus h plus 5 times x plus 5. So I still have my 1 over h in the front. I've got times h in the denominator, times h in the numerator. My final answer for simplifying my difference quotient is negative 3 over x plus h plus 5 times x plus 5. And that represents my difference quotient for the rational function 3 over x plus 5.